Hello everybody and welcome back to Casual Aquatics. Today we are going to talk about 4 ways you can keep plants with your cichlids and stubborn fish. Now, if you've been in this hobby any amount of time at all, you have discovered live plants in your aquarium are very beneficial. But you may keep large cichlids or fish that like to pick at plants. But you don't want to give up on the institution of it. Well, I'm going to give you 4 ways that you can attempt to have plants with those fish. Now, this pond, for instance, is full of those very fish. Red devils, giant tilapia, Oscars, catfish, jaguar cichlids. And I tried to actually plant plants into the substrate. And, of course, they pulled them out. So, I had to come up with some ideas. So, idea number 1. Attach the plant to some wood. Now, you see here, this plant has grown into this tree. It's got runners starting to go down. And if you look up close and personal, you can actually see where it has like fused to the wood. Trying to get you up close. So this plant has grown into this tree. So even if this water gets a little low and the roots are out of the water, they are pulling moisture and nitrates and stuff out of that log. And sure, it's not inside of your pond. And maybe you don't have a pond. Maybe you have a fish tank. And we will get to that next. But if this is what I can do, then that's what it will be. The only other plant that I was able to get planted in this water is this alligator weed. And that's only because this filter is sitting on cement blocks. And I have it wedged down in there with substrate on top of it. You're not going to be able to see, but I figured I'd kind of try to zoom in there. So, that's the only way that one is working. Otherwise, it would probably be the same thing. I'd try to get it to attach to this wood. Number 2, floating plants. At all costs, you can usually always get some duckweed or red root floaters or some kind of floating plant and put in your aquariums and ponds, and they reproduce so quick that even if your fish or pets eat it or pull at it, it would just keep multiplying. One thing to know though is duckweed, this little green stuff, does not like a whole lot of water movement. So, if you plan to just use duckweed, my recommendation is using sponge filters, and I will show you why. So, if you have a sponge filter, it will allow you to still have plenty of top floater plants. This whole top is covered. But you still can have your filter, and it literally just creates like a circle or an area. This is, of course, an air stone, not a sponge filter, but same concept. So it will give you that open space where you can still throw in food to your fish or what have you. So floating plants are always an option for cichlids. If you don't have a sponge filter or any big agitation, your tanks can potentially look like this. they have a complete layer of floating plants on the top of it. Now, the third way to do it is put plants in your filter. As you see, I got some large cichlids here. Any plant I try to put in there, believe it or not, the devil's okay with it, but the jaguar always starts pulling at them. So it was a no-go. So, if you have hang on the back filters, you can grow plants out of them the same way. So all I have is the roots down in this water, and then the plants themselves starting to grow out and sprout. And depending on what plant you have, like potholes, it will eventually cover this whole fish tank, and you can vine it up your wall and all kinds of stuff like that. So a filter, a hang on the back filter, can be your best friend. Same concept. I do that in a lot of my tanks. Even if your filter don't work, but you can still just hang it and add water in there and then start your root system in it, then it will work and do the same thing. Same concept applies if you have a sump on any of your tanks or ponds. I just put the plants in there. Now, as it's pulling the water out of the tank into here and filtering through, these plants will actually start pulling nitrite and nitrate right up out of the pond, and it's doing the same thing that you would want it to do if it could grow inside of your aquarium itself. And then last but not least, 3 and 4 are kind of one and the same, but still different. So just like I have these plants in my sump, I could do the same thing inside of the filter itself. You can throw plants in your sumps or your like FX6, put some floaters in there, your dye filters, whatever. As long as it doesn't require a lot of light, like low light plants, like subwasser tank or something like that, you could just physically put inside of your filter, out of sight, out of mind, and it's still doing what you want it to. I'd like to conclude with, I know those options do not allow you to physically have the plant inside of your aquarium and doesn't allow you to create that water box jungle that you may be looking for. But they are solid options if you still want the benefits of having real plants in your aquariums with large cichlids and aggressive fish that are otherwise gonna pull your plants up out of the substrate. Outside of that, community fish, but that's not what you were asking. Thanks for watching, everybody, and remember, as always, stay casual.